This is that little 125 Honda, and I happen to think of it, I hadn't had it all year. Haven't started up since last year. So I dug it out, aired up the tires, put a new plug in, that sort of thing. Runs good. I just kind of slipped my mind. I didn't need it. It's the one I traded a couple of cases of beer for this and that LaFon motor and, and a whole other bike frame. But it's a good little bike and it's kind of handy for running out and get mail. But like I say, I haven't really used it this year. I got to replace this lever. And I see the grip is a little tore up, but it's original. So it's a handy bike. It's a nice little motorcycle. So I'll put a little effort into it. It's something that anybody could ride. The one thing I do need is the side covers were missing off of it. They're a plastic snap-on thing. Not unusual on old bikes. They usually get discarded somewhere along the way. And I could find the ones for the CB, but this is the CL with the upswept pipe. So it's a very narrow cover on that side. That's a bit of a bugger, finding that. And they want a lot for them. And like I say, the bike, it's handy, but it's not that big a deal. So I'll wait. Maybe I'll run across one eventually. I did find the original seat, and I do have, like this lever's got the end broke off. I do have new ones of those. So it's worth putting a little effort into, just because it's handy. One thing I was going to mention, though now that I think of it, I got a beer sitting right over there. Yeah, it'll have to wait. Somebody in the comments on that one I did about student loans had brought up but those Republicans voted in those P.P.P, that payroll protection thing. But that's commonly what people are bringing up now. Well, it wasn't Republicans, that was when Trump was still running things. And it wasn't just Republicans, everybody wanted that. In Congress, man, they were all, ooh, this is the thing, free money. And it was a hell of a boondoggle. In theory, they claim this was a very good program. Personally, I don't know anybody who benefited from it. Around here, there wasn't people getting laid off. They were having a hell of a time to hire anybody. I'd go into stores and they'd say, oh, will you fill out an application? Well, I'm not looking, But they couldn't. Nobody could find help. Because at the same time as this P.P.P nonsense, they were jacking up that unemployment. So many people they didn't want to work. They were making out good on this unemployment. So employers were having a hell of a time to find people. But, in theory, that was that people then should keep your employees on. It was to help you over this little problem. Well, it was a boondoggle. Though they won't admit that to this day. It was just rife with fraud. There was everybody who wanted it could get it. The first people on the bandwagon were your Congress people. They all jumped on this. They all got little side businesses, or if they didn't have one, they made one up. Made imaginary businesses and imaginary employees and claimed all their relatives were employees. And this was a common thing. There was all kinds of schemes worked out with this, but there was just no oversight on it. It was just crazy. They were just throwing money at it. But they figure, now, they're gradually going after these people because there were people who, like I say, made up businesses. Then they get this money and they go and buy exotic sports cars or homes or yachts or, it was a crazy thing. There was just money flying around. And the theory was this was a loan, but always was the possibility that you wouldn't have to repay it, that it would just be forgiven. That was, so people just took advantage of it. Like I say, just a mess. They figure it'll be, like 5 years before they get caught up on all the fraud cases from that. The only one who's going to make out good on this is going to be the attorneys, because there's going to be attorneys chasing these people, and there's going to be attorneys defending these people. And like I say, there's a lot of your politicians, a lot of big shots that jumped on this bandwagon. But still, if you look into it, they say, this was a good program. It wasn't. Just a horrible waste of money. But it wasn't. Like the guy was claiming it was a Republican thing. Everybody was in on that. If there's a scam floating around, they all jump on it. Odds of getting money back out of them people, what are you going to do? He sees their yachts and their sports cars and all this. This is going to go on and on. But those people, there's a lot of people that are crooks, and if you give them that kind of a chance with no oversight, they're going to take advantage of it. And they did. But it was the same, even with that unemployment stuff. All of that stuff. And when they didn't have to pay rent anymore, they left the landlords hanging. That was a mess. Still a mess. Like this with the student loans, then the biggest problem on them is the interest just keeps building and building. If you wanted to do something for them, just freeze them, freeze the interest, just drop it. That would make it a lot better. And it would be more across the board for all of the people. It wouldn't be just a chunk here, and be happy and vote for me. But I could see, just dropping the interest on it. Because I know there's people who, they pay and they pay and they pay, and the amount really doesn't go down. They're just hanging there, and now all this where they keep putting it off, the interest is still adding up. So if you could drop that, that would be a big help to them. But at the same time, on these P.P.P. loans, they should have never been forgiving these. Maybe out there someplace, there was some company that this actually did some good for. They claim that. But I think just a lot of scamming going on. So, but maybe some small restaurant someplace managed to stay in business because of that. But for every one of them, there was another one that just run off with the money. And now they're going to try to chase them down. That's a good use for all them IRS agents. Go after them people. And there, I could see there where you could be charging interest. Well, there should be penalties for this sort of thing. But there never is. That's white-collar crime. They don't care about that. They're all in on that. So they let that slide. So if they can steal a yacht back or a car, you know, well, they'll be happy then. But there were people just spending money like they were rich and at the same time claiming, oh, they couldn't make their payroll. A lot of them people, they'd get it, and immediately, you know, the idea was so they could keep your employees working. As soon as they got it, they'd lay them all off. Now, you'd think that would be something that you would certainly go back at them on that, but they won't. Yeah, that was not a good thing. But they don't like to talk about that. They want to pretend that that was a wonderful program. All of these programs they have, they're wonderful programs. Just keep throwing money at problems. But, you know, like I say, that guy claiming, yeah, they're entitled to get this $10,000 off of their student loans because of those P.P.P. loans. Nah, that don't fly. That was a boondoggle. This will be a boondoggle. I mean, this is a debt you honestly acquired. If you want to do some good, though, I could see, you know, getting rid of that interest. Interest is a thing that just bugs the hell out of me. I don't pay interest on things. But the government is fond of interest. Their whole system works on this. This whole Ponzi scheme works on this. But I think that Ponzi scheme is coming to an end, that whole Federal Reserve fiat currency thing. I think, you know, that's going to go tumbling down pretty damn quick. You know, it has to. I mean, that's just the way it works. That's just the fate of any fiat currency, any Ponzi scheme. Eventually, it just eats itself. So, it's going to go down. You know, the idea when the P.P.P. loans came out, they thought, oh, if we don't do this, we're headed to a Great Depression worse than the 30s. So, we took on a lot of national debt, threw that money out there. What, it gave us a couple of years. Now we're going to go into a depression worse than it would have been back then. You can't keep kicking that can down the road. But they keep trying. Yeah, if you could just keep the government out of your business. But they have people now trained to demand government assistance in everything they do. So, that's just the way it is. Well, maybe take this thing out for a little ramble. I should change oil on it too. Get it good and warm and dump the oil. That wouldn't do any harm. And then use a little, always a good starter and cheap running. You know, it just ain't the greatest thing going down the highway if you've got limited speed. So I think I had it up to what, 45, 50 the one day, and that was going uphill. I think with the wind, on a level stretch, I think I'd get 60 out of her. Yeah, I'm sure I could. But now it goes up to 80, but you ain't going to catch me even getting dragged behind something. I ain't going 80 on that thing.